Some stories are so wild, so utterly jaw-dropping. You'd swear they were ripped from a Hollywood script. Except this one had a whole neighborhood as witnesses. Picture this, a quiet morning shattered by the click of a cheap pistol's safety, followed by a desperate scream. But the man screaming, he's not the victim. That's Barry, the self-anointed HOA enforcer of Whispering Pines, shaking in his knockoff tactical vest, pointing a trembling gun at my son Jake. And Jake, my 21-year-old, looking like any college kid home for summer, is kneeling calmly in our gravel driveway, hands raised, cool as ice. What Barry didn't know, what nobody in our sleepy suburb knew, was that Jake trains Navy SEALs, America's deadliest warriors, teaching them to stay unshaken under fire. Barry picked the worst possible target, and his empire of petty rules was about to crash and burn in spectacular fashion. Welcome to Karen Karma, where clipboard tyrants and wannabe cops get served the justice they deserve. If this hooks you, smash that like button now and comment, what's the craziest HOA stunt you've faced? Let's see how far this tale travels. Drop your country below. Subscribe and hit the bell for more epic takedowns at Karma for Karen. Buckle up, folks. This is a saga of defiance, deception, and delicious karma. It all started on our 10-acre slice of rugged paradise, a patch of land my grandfather carved out long before Whispering Pines subdivision sprouted like beige weeds around us. Our brick house, weathered barn, and winding gravel driveway stand as relics of a time before HOA letters and their obsession with manicured conformity. This wasn't just a home. It was a legacy, with stories etched into every fence post and barn beam, older than the entire HOA board's rule book combined. When the development came, we were grandfathered in, our land explicitly exempt from their bylaws. Or so we thought. But like a slow poison, the HOA's tentacles started creeping, and it began with something so absurdly trivial. It was almost laughable. The grass. The first salvo arrived in an envelope so crisp it screamed self-importance, stamped with a pine cone logo that looked more like a grenade primed to explode. Violation. Failure to maintain turf height per Section 7, it declared, demanding I mow my hayfield, the pasture that once fed our family's cattle, to a pristine 3 inches. I chuckled, picturing cows grazing on a golf course, and tossed it in the trash. The second letter came hotter, accusing my F250 truck of being an unapproved commercial vehicle. My personal rig, used for hauling hay and fixing fences, suddenly a blight on their precious property values. That one, I used it to sop up engine oil in the barn. The third targeted Dad's hand-painted plywood sign from 30 years back. Private property, no trespassing. They wanted it swapped for a dainty bronze plaque, 12 inches wide, invisible from the road. That one fueled a bonfire in the backyard, its ashes mingling with the scent of roasting marshmallows. My wife, Sarah, the family's voice of reason with her endless patience, suggested I call them, maybe find middle ground. But I saw through it. This wasn't about grass or signs. It was a power grab, a flag planting on our independent soil, and I wasn't about to salute. The first real clash hit on a muggy Tuesday afternoon. I was wrestling a stubborn fence post into place when a golf cart rolled up, its red and blue lights flashing like a low-rent spaceship. Out stepped Barry, the self-styled barracuda of Barristan, built like a sack of potatoes left too long in the sun, his face a permanent shade of indignant red. Trailing him was his lackey, Renegade Randy, a scrawny kid with a nervous twitch, looking like he'd been recruited for a doomsday cult, but settled for hoa grunt work. Barry clutched his clipboard like it was the 10 Commandments, reading bylaws with the gravitas of a televangelist. Section 4, subsection B, non-compliant signage. Section 7, turf height violation. I leaned on my shovel, sweat dripping, and cut him off. Barry, save your breath. My land's not under your thumb. No court order. You're one step from trespassing. Back it up. He tried the easement card, claiming the first 10 feet of my property was HOA turf. I smirked, pulling up the county survey on my phone, highlighted like a neon sign. Funny, cause the county says your easement stops at lot 217, my neighbor's place. You're on public road, pal. One more step, and you're in my world. Randy shuffled back like a spooked deer. Barry's face went from red to a shade of purple I didn't know existed, sputtering about filing this in your permanent record before peeling out in his cart. I knew he'd be back. Bullies don't quit easy. A week later, the drone wars began. I was sipping coffee on the porch, the morning air crisp, when a mosquito-like whine pierced the calm. Overhead, a white quadcopter hovered just over the property line, its camera swiveling like a vulture's eye toward my barn, truck, and hayfield. This wasn't enforcement. It was surveillance, pure harassment. I called Sarah out. She squinted, shaking her head. That's no kid's toy. That's deliberate. Enter Jake, my 21-year-old son, rolling up in his beat-up pickup, looking every bit the chill college kid home for summer. Except Jake wasn't just a student. His contractor work, never bragged about, was training Navy SEALs, teaching elite operators how to assess threats and stay alive in chaos. Neighbors saw a lanky kid in sneakers. I saw a man who'd faced worse than Barry's bluster and laughed. The drone buzzed again that afternoon. Jake tracked it with a predator's focus, his hazel eyes narrowing. Sloppy flight path. Amateur gear. Who's the wannabe spy? I laid out the saga. Letters, Barry's golf cart antics. Jake nodded, calm as a sniper. We'll fix this? No shotguns or slingshots. He went high-tech, installing for state-of-the-art cameras. Driveway, barn, yard, sky. Not to catch him, he said, wiring them up. To prove what we didn't do. Evidence is king. Our ace in the hole? Old man Hemlock, the 80-year-old firebrand across the road, and Hoa-hating legend with a laugh like gravel. Over coffee, he cackled at my tail, pulling out a yellowed 1950s land grant and developer agreement. See this? Your land, mine, exempt from their nonsense. And their bylaws? Ripped off a Florida condo packet, grass rules, and all. Barry's empire's a house of cards. He'd once told Barry to shove his clipboard over unapproved roses. I liked him more by the minute. The drone met its doom spectacularly. One morning, it sputtered mid-flight and crashed into my hayfield, a smoking heap of plastic. Barry stormed over, face volcanic, accusing me of sabotage. I leaned on the fence, grinning. Shot it down, me? Lucky I've got cameras rolling. Let's see what they say. His bravado cracked. He knew he was caught. Then, his fatal blunder. He and Randy stepped onto my land to retrieve the wreck. The barn camera zoomed in, capturing every inch of their trespass. That night, my cousin, a sharp-eyed lawyer, fired off a cease and desist to the HOA board with a screenshot and a $500 bill for his time. Points scored. But Barry wasn't done. He escalated to creep mode. Nightly patrols, spotlights blasting our windows, parking just off our line like a stalker. Jake's cameras caught it all, every glare, every tire track. Intimidation, sure, evidence. Priceless. Sarah, my data analyst wife with a knack for unraveling messes, turned sleuth. Diving into HOA budgets, state filings, and licenses, she struck gold. Barry's Barracuda security was only cleared for unarmed observation. Guns were a big no-no. Yet the HOA paid him obscene sums, far above market, via a contract signed by his brother-in-law, the HOA president. Fraud, plain as day. Then came Carol, a jittery new board member who slid into our demas anonymously. The board never approved armed patrols, she confessed, leaking internal emails. Barry faked crime stats, break ins, vandalism to scare us into compliance. He's untouchable, or so he thinks. Her tips exposed a board in chaos, bullied by Barry's bluster. We had our inside line, and the noose was tightening. Jake, ever the strategist, saw the endgame. Studying Barry's predictable 4:45 to 5:15 a.m. patrols, he said, ego breeds routine. We used that. His plan. A dawn jog on our driveway. No phone, no weapon, just a young trespasser on private land. My job. Watch from the porch, 911 on speed dial if guns appeared. We don't escalate, Jake stressed. We document. Sarah prepped a dossier, financials, emails, camera footage, ready to bury Barry if he bit. At 5 a.m., dawn barely breaking, Jake hit the gravel in gray sweats, sneakers crunching rhythmically. Right on schedule, Barry's golf cart screeched up, blocking the drive. He leaped out, chest puffed like a cartoon general, Randy skulking behind. Jake turned to jog back, casual as a morning breeze. Barry snapped, freeze. Hands where I can see M. Jake stopped, raised his palms, a faint smile playing on his lips. Am I detained? What's the charge, officer? That word, officer, was a dagger. Barry's eyes flashed with rage. This is community property. You're trespassing. He barked, stepping boldly onto our land. Jake's voice stayed ice cold. Wrong. This is my father's property. You're trespassing, and you're no officer. That broke him. Barry yanked a cheap pistol from his vest. Click, safety off, barrel leveled at Jake's chest. My heart pounded, but I was already on the phone. Armed intruder on my property, not law enforcement, gun on my son. I told the dispatcher, voice steady despite the fear. Jake knelt slowly, hands visible, de-escalating like he was born for it. Barry screamed threats, his hands shaking, sweat beading on his brow. 2 agonizing minutes later, sirens wailed, red and blue lights flooding the dawn. Deputies swarmed. Deputy Tom, a friend since grade school, took one glance and roared, Barry, drop the weapon now. Real authority hit like a tidal wave. Barry's delusion shuddered. The gun hit the gravel. Then, a black SUV with discreet government plates rolled up. A man in a crisp suit stepped out, all business, nodding at Jake. Your ride's here, sir. Sorry to interrupt your vacation. Jake grinned, casual as ever, just doing some community outreach, Mark. Barry's jaw hit the ground. The suit turned, voice like steel. That young man you just threatened. He trains naval special warfare operators, Navy SEALs, on threat assessment. Congrats, pal. You're now their textbook example of a catastrophic fail. The fallout was swift and brutal. Barry faced a laundry list of felonies: aggravated assault, brandishing, false imprisonment, illegal firearm possession. His Barracuda security license was revoked, fines piled higher than his ego. The HOA imploded at an emergency meeting. Carol, our insider, stood trembling but resolute, presenting Sarah's dossier, cooked books, fake crime stats, brother-in-law kickbacks. Residents erupted. He fined my mailbox, threatened my dog. Board members resigned in a flurry. The HOAS insurance bailed, and my cousin's class action lawsuit dissolved Whispering Pines HOA by court order. Its pine cone logo relegated to history's trash heap. Weeks later, I stood at the driveway's end, hammering Dad's old no trespassing sign back up. Its weathered paint a badge of victory. Deer grazed in the hayfield, unbothered. Jake called from overseas, voice crackling. Got my postcard. He'd sent a target sheet, a printed clipboard image shredded by sealed bullets. I laughed, hanging it in the barn beside wrenches and memories. Looks good, son. Barry thought a vest and a gun made him king, building a paper empire on fear and fraud. But real strength? It's Jake's quiet steel. disarming a fool without firing a shot, backed by a family that fights for what's theirs. It's the peace of a pasture reclaimed, the silence after a bully's fall. That's how one Don Jog toppled a tyrant. Ever faced an HOA dictator or a wannabe with a clipboard? Spill your saga in the comments. What's the pettiest rule you've fought? Like if Jake's your hero, share with anyone who's battled a bully, and subscribe for more karma-fueled takedowns. Follow at Karma4Karen on all platforms. We're everywhere. Until next time, remember, point a gun at the wrong guy and karma pulls the trigger. Peace out.